session to order. I guess I can't look over the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Motion by Mr. Smith. Do I hear a second? Second by Ms. Ennis. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5, none opposed. Agenda is approved. This time I'm going to make a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action, dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee or an interview applicant for the position of superintendent. Also to consult and meet with legal counsel pertaining to pending or potential litigation, settlement claims, administrative proceedings, or other judicial action brought or to be brought by or against the school district or an officer or employee or in which the officer or employee may be directly involved. Do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5, none opposed. We're adjourned to executive session at 4:02. Feels a hurry, so
Okay, all right, I just didn't know if I...
Probably 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe, hopefully not 20, but 15.
Well, I might just send an email or two. But I need to send, if they come back before I'm back, will you come get me? I'll leave it.
And then on the lawsuit, because of this blatant disregard the school system has.
Work on that.
I got a little bit more work done. Took a phone call.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Motion was made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Finley. Have an executive session at 4:30. Carried 5-0. No other action was taken. Do I hear a motion to approve the executive session minutes as presented? Motion by Mr. Smith. Do I hear a second? Second by Ms. Ennis. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5, none opposed. Executive session minutes are approved. Okay, school board work session. 3 items for discussion. First item, distance learning update. Dr. Townsend.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to have Ms. Anita Walker come present. I'll be kind of jumping in at a time. She'll talk about a report Ms. Finley asked about, some questions, and we'll respond to those questions.
Okay. A lot of this, mainly most of it, is pertaining to the information that I think you received yesterday, the report. So the first one here is a graph that you received about the students who returned from virtual to the traditional setting, the percentage that were on track and the percentage that was not on track. As you can see, we had a lot more not on track, grades 5 through 12 when they returned, which we expected because they didn't like the program. You know, that's why they were returning. So, you know, fortunately, they went back for the majority of them before fall break, so we started sending them back after that first week of school. So, you know, hopefully the teachers got them into some groups so that they could be caught up with their peers. I've talked about this before, but I wanted to go ahead and put it in this presentation as well. These were the common, you know, reasons that we heard for students going back. We had lots of technology issues in the beginning, which those have been resolved, either fixed or we've been given workarounds for those. So every now and then we'll have somebody say something's not working, but for the majority, those have been resolved. Several thought it was just too difficult, so they wanted to go back to the traditional classroom. We got this a lot, the time commitment, because a lot of our parents sign their students up or their children up, and they worked full-time jobs. So for those little kids where they had to sit with them to help them, they just didn't have the time to commit to it. Their students managing their time and getting the work done. That was another reason for going back. And a lot of parents said, you know, their child just could not focus being there on that computer all day. That, you know, they needed time to get up and move around. to our current virtual students, the ones who are on track and the ones who are not. Kindergarten through fourth grade, that looks much better than our ones that were returning here. You'll see there that we do have more percentage on track than we do not on track. But as I know you saw from this, the story does change once we get to sixth grade. And I'll talk about that in just a second. Even if we go back a little bit, there we go, 4, you see as it gets higher in grades, that percentage starts going up just a little bit. And then with 7 and 8, we have a lot that's not on track as well. And we weren't able to send as many kids back originally to the junior high just because there was not enough room there in the traditional classes, the way they had their schedule going. So at this school, we sent the fewest back this semester. But possible causes for differences in the K-5 and the 6-8 percentages, when I have talked to parents, they'll tell me, well, I have to sit with my younger one, so the older one's kind of on their own. They tell me they're doing their work, and well, then I'll say, well, this is what the program says. So they don't sit with those kids as much. They, let them have the accountability, which I put over here, to let them know if they're doing their work or not. With the K-5 curriculum, there's more videos for that. And over here in the 6A, it requires more of the students reading to gain the knowledge that they need. So, a lot of them are accustomed to teachers up there doing a PowerPoint or giving a lecture. Well, they have to do that part for themselves. So it's not just like they get the assignment, they have to do a lot of reading to get that information. And another thing that I should have added here, because I am going to talk about that, is how much time that the students put toward the program. And so what I did is for the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I looked at all of those students that were not on track. And as I explained in the email yesterday that I think Dr. Townsend forwarded to you, I looked at if they were failing 2 or more. Because if, when we look at students, if they're failing one class, we're not going to hold them back for that. So, and we looked at the academic classes. So if they were failing 2 or more, what I did was I looked at each one of those courses that they were behind in, whether they had a failing grade or were not at the correct progress point, and looked to see how many hours that they've spent. So at this grade level, we recommend at least an hour per subject. So, for their core academic subjects. We've had approximately 60 days if you take the day before Thanksgiving, and that's kind of where I stopped. So students should have spent 60 hours or they're pretty close. But you can see those that were not on track, they're not putting the time into that program. I also wanted to do this 0 to 30 hours. 72% of those 6th graders spent 0 to 30 hours. Then 31 to 60 plus 28%. So we do have some who's putting in the time, but they're struggling with it but it is, it's grade level standards, and it does have some rigor in it. 7th grade, you see it's kind of the same story with them. And when you look here at the 0 to 30, it was 63% compared to 37. So a little bit better for the 7th graders. And then 8th grade, and then 74% compared to 26% for that. So before I go any further, are there any questions about
Can you
that?
go back on one slide?
Yes.
On the 60-plus hours, is this showing the data for students that are not on track?
This is just
Okay.
students that are not on track,
Okay.
yes. And I just, like if they had one course that was on track, I didn't put that up here. This is just the ones that aren't on track. All right, the high school, as, I didn't break that down by grade level, and I think I explained that in the email, but just in case I didn't, you know, we don't have like, okay, this is a course just for ninth graders, this is a course just for 10th graders. So it was just easier for me to put those all together. The percentage on track, almost 50%. I know that's not great, but Mr. Holland has a daughter, and it's tough, isn't it, to get that done. They have to complete a Part A course and a Part B course because they're on the block schedule. So for our K-8 students, they only have to complete Part A in the same amount of time that our high schoolers have to complete Part A and Part B. So they're looking at more like 2 hours per subject. One thing that we have sent out to parents, because we know we started school 2 weeks late, basically, and getting used to the program and then having 2 courses to complete, we're gonna offer an extension for those kids. So I'll explain that on the next slide, but I just wanted you to know, if we take the ones who are on track with an extension, plus the percentage who are on track even without it, we're at like 62% of our high schoolers to be on track. And then we are a little less than 40 for not on track with that. So with the extension, they have to complete it all of A and have a passing score. And if they've completed at least 30% of B with a passing score, then we're gonna give them 9 weeks second semester to get that completed. They'll just have an incomplete score unless now if they're gonna try out for any high school sports, GHSA, I always mess up saying that one, they only give students 2 weeks to make up incompletes. So otherwise, they will have 9 weeks to make that up. So, and the reason for this is we don't want them to have to start all over because they're not finished. So this way, they can go ahead and take their other classes. We'll let them stay in Pearson, and then, you know, hopefully they'll get that made up in 9 weeks. And I did have a meeting with Pearson today, and I asked her if those kids are going back traditional, will she let them, you know, be in that program for free? And with my numbers, she thought we were pretty good with that, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, part of it. Okay, any questions about that? No? Okay. Do you want to say anything? I know I'm just doing all the
No, you're
talking.
doing great.
Okay. All right. I've talked to you about this as well, because I know you're thinking, what about those kids who are not on track? And guys, we have tried and we have tried. And it's hard just when you're in a classroom with those kids to get them to do what they're supposed to do. But when you don't have any contact with them other than virtual, you know, email, it's that much harder. I mean, it's really hard because we talk to the parents. Sometimes we get support from them, sometimes we don't. We get the social worker involved. She's made home visits. We have had some tickets issued to families for truancy because their kids aren't doing anything. We've even had a few kids that have been court ordered to return back to school traditionally. So, you know, each week, the social worker meets with our PBA staff and we look at these kids. So it's not that we're just not trying to get them to do something. It's, I hate to say it, but some of them are just reluctant when we reach out to them. We also do the small group and individual meetings virtually and the face-to-face tutoring. That has picked up tremendously with our K-6 kids, with how many kids we have. over there.
Ms. Walker, I think
Yeah.
something to say right there
Okay.
is when you talk to other systems, I don't think we thought about it in the very beginning, but that's something the staff thought about that would help out our virtual kids about in-person tutoring. And the parents felt comfortable coming in that environment since it's a small environment. They didn't have to increase that bubble very much they're in. And so I think it shows you what our staff's doing above and beyond to try to make this work for them. Those parents who are struggling, who want that extra help, trying to give that in-person tutoring. So I want to applaud our virtual staff and our regular teachers too, because we've got some teachers from schools actually coming over to help with that tutoring or working with our virtual staff to make sure we do the corrective tutoring that needs to take place. So kudos to our staff for that.
Yeah, we have usually 2 teachers per day. Of course, it's our full-time virtual teachers. But at the 712 school, they offer tutoring after school, and the virtual kids can, participate in that. Okay, and I just got a phone call while y'all were in executive session. I've got another one to add to our virtual for next semester. Honestly, I expected this number to be a lot lower, and we have about 60-something kids that are switching from traditional to virtual. And, we have asked for them to please come and look at the program to make sure it's something that they want to do and that they can see what's going to be required. We haven't gotten every one of them, but we have got several of the parents to come and take a look at it. But as you can see, we have a lot going back traditionally. And for those students who are not being successful, we have reached out and tried our best to talk those parents into sending them back traditionally, because we all feel like that's where they're going to get the best education that they can.
Okay, so this chart is the number of students that are going back to traditional in the second semester.
Now, this is our current virtual number,
That's current virtual.
and this is second semester virtual. So, it's roughly 300, that's gonna go back.
Yeah, we thought it'd be at least half, but it's not.
I talked to the Gilmer curriculum director today, because she's over there virtual, and they had actually dropped down to about 500. And they're hoping that they get to about 300 here. But, we can't make the parents send them back. And there's a lot of reasons when I talk to parents about why they're doing virtual. It's not all COVID. It's other reasons, anxiety reasons with students, getting along with peers. There's just multiple reasons when you talk to those parents.
Anything else, y'all, for Ms. Walker? Okay, thank you, Ms. Walker. Okay, next, we talked a little about calendar. We did the survey, 1,209 people replied to the survey. We were very pleased with the amount of people who replied. We have 500 parents, 298 employees, 39 residents/business owners, and 60 students. So students even responded to our survey. I mentioned this to quite a few people already. We've got a heavy mandate not to mess with Thanksgiving or Christmas. So fall break on a scale, we did the 5-point scale, and the 2 highest, of course, was Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4.6, 4.2 respectively. Fall break, 3.8. They rated as try not to change either, and winter break as in maintaining a full week. Was as strong as many of you. There were mixed reviews about whether to keep it where we had it originally and or switch it a few weeks later to where it's more middle of the semester. If we did it early on, we'd be more in sync with the other systems around us. And then also we talked about next was digital learning days. And if you 70%, instead of making up inclement weather days, 70% of the respondents said they'd rather have a distance learning day, digital learning day, whatever you want to call it, and not try to make up those days later during the winter break. And the comments that we had, I guess we had school should start after August, later in August or early Labor Day. If we did that, we'd have to do away with the breaks and definitely go into June. I'm not sure if the majority of people definitely wouldn't want that. 44 people said they didn't like the distance learning and digital learning. 37 people liked the calendar, 36 asked to change the breaks to allow for a later opening day, and there were various other comments. So that's kind of the feedback. Like I said, it's kind of scattered. The main 2 things I would say are really mandates, or the, not say mandates, but really highly suggestive the most strongly comments were Christmas and Thanksgiving, keep the full weeks. Some systems and states still do not do a full week for Thanksgiving. So I think that's a good thing for our parents, our students, and our staff to keep that full week for Thanksgiving. Keep the 2 full weeks for Christmas holidays, keep the week for spring break, and my recommendation is going to be the same calendar I presented last time based on the feedback. I felt like we had pretty good feedback last time, definitely from the staff. We added more student feedback. We didn't have any student feedback last time. And we did have a little community feedback last time, but we definitely received more community feedback this time. So based on that, the calendar I'll be recommending will be that, but I will open it up for discussion, suggestions. I'm not going to ask for a vote until next Thursday night, so if we need to tweak it or whatever else, at the end of the day, it is your decision regarding the calendar. And I'm going to respect that. The staff will respect that. We all talked about it, and we know it's a big decision, but we're looking forward to it, and hopefully we get through COVID, we can do a 2-year calendar. That's really what we all want to do this year, but with COVID, we didn't think it was a good idea to try to do a 2-year calendar under the circumstances we're in now. Questions or comments?
I'd just say that based on the sidebar conversations earlier, I think we'll be in a good position to approve the calendar next week. And I didn't think it was necessary, but Ms. Finley has recommended the survey, and I'm glad she did. It was interesting to see some perspectives from some folks. So
Yeah.
good feedback.
We got some really good feedback. I mean, we had, I believe, Jill, you're there. I think within the first 4 days, we probably had over half the people replied, and then within the first week, pretty much 90%.
Yes, absolutely.
So our community's engaged and active, and we appreciate that, and I think it worked out.
Okay, good on that. Okay.
Okay.
Next is the January 2021 regular board meeting date. This is just to confirm we always do this every year, set the first date, and then we approve in January for the year, the calendar schedule. So it's been the tradition for a long time to do it second Thursday of every month at 6 o'clock.
January 14th.
I don't see any reason to change that now. Is everybody good with doing that? So please advise Martha will proceed with the second Thursday in January, which you said is the 14th,
Yes, sir.
6 o'clock. And we'll go ahead and plan to do a continuing call meeting at 9 o'clock before. I think that's worked well, don't it? Vote on that. Okay, that's the last item on business. Unless you have anything else, Dr. Townsend, or are you good?
No, sir. That completes the report.
All right. I'll take anything. It's been a long day for us, but.
Yes, hey guys, I know there's not a big audience out there. Excuse the interruption. You guys are recommended for the training you did the past couple of days, a long training, and hopefully it was worthwhile. Yesterday was about legal issues. Today it was just a variety of different topics. I think it's important for you have that professional development to stay to sharpen your saw like we do as educators. And I think you all sharpened your saw this week. So I really appreciate your effort and your time. Time's important.
Some saws like mine and Steve are sharp all the time, but we tried our best to try.
No comment.
What's he saying about our song?
Ms. Finley, can you help me out here, or Aaron?
I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I think it's best not to do that.
Motion by Mr. Smith to adjourn. Do I hear a second? Second by Ms. Ennis. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5 and none opposed. We're adjourned at 4:53.
Hey guys, thanks for being here.